Greetings and salutations, listeners and watchers of my channel. Today, I've got a very special guest, a Twitch streamer who goes by the name Flaming Monocle. And today, we're going to be discussing uh, Twitch and Twitch-related things, as befitting the fact that he's a streamer. My name is Squall, and introduce yourself, please, sir.
Greetings, my name is the Flaming Monocle, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Alright, so now that we've made introductions, let us jump into the questions. The first one is, what is Twitch and what is your take on it? Let me see, yeah, that's pretty much that question, but I'll go into the side stuff in a little bit. But to explain what my listeners and watchers to what Twitch is.
Well, Twitch is an online platform where anyone who has a modicum of ability when it comes to playing video games and has a computer relatively strong enough to play them at the same time as broadcasting them, it is a place where anyone can upload their gameplay content for just about anyone who has another computer to watch. And I started doing this a little while ago, and I'm now in the process of doing 8 streams every week from Monday to Saturday.
And which on your channel people can see your schedule, so they can tell what time you're going to be on.
Yes, certainly. I mean, the streams are available Monday to Saturday, as I say, but everything, including all of my past videos, can be seen at twitch.tv/Flaming Monocle.
Alright, so to go in the second part of the question, what is your take on it? I really didn't explain the kind of answer that I wanted, but that is not a good question for me to ask. Or it is a good question, I just need to reword it a little bit differently.
Okay.
Alright, so an addendum to the first question, what do you think of the variety, actually not too much variety, of the games on the website?
Well, you say there's not very much in the way of variety, but I think if you look at something like my friend Adam, Call of Cthulhu, he is solely there playing very much H.P. Lovecraft, horror, and Call of Cthulhu-based sort of video game titles, which are very, very specific, very niche, very specific to him. Whereas if you look at someone like, say, Continue, who is a friend of mine as well, she's a variety caster, and she's played everything from something like Barbie's Sister's Puppy Rescue to the demo to Outlast 2 and things like that, and everything in between. So as long as it's a video game, I think it gets a lot of... it's hard to say that... I wouldn't say that Twitch doesn't have a lot of variety in the sense that it may not have the greatest database of games available, but it certainly has a lot of people who really do bend the topic of what a video game constitutes. And you may see stuff like people who've turned like Excel spreadsheets into a game, or people that have turned Minecraft into a video player and things like that. It's a remarkable melting pot of talent. And it's not just video games, because obviously there are the creatives as well, people that do cosplay, people that do cooking, people that do drawing, people that do acting, people that do stand-up comedy and things like that. So it's a really interesting place to be. And it's certainly now is the time to be involved in it, certainly.
Alright, so that's good. Yeah, it is. There is to go into the database issue, they haven't fully covered the entire expanse. I mean, for a lot of the Super Nintendo, Genesis, Pac, that stuff, that's all under the Retro channel.
Yeah, the main reason for that being is that you can't go out and buy a PC copy of, let's say, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 without necessarily going into Steam and then going to Sega Mega Drive and Genesis Classics, which is its own thing. So it's a released title for a platform, a current gen platform. So either PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. I mean, there's some Xbox 360 and PS3 titles in there as well. But ultimately, if a game is played enough, it usually gets added to the database. And it's not a case of they could import a database of every game under the sun, but I think it's mainly to do with what is current and what people are currently playing. Because otherwise, because I've played so many, I've played lots and lots of indie games recently for Feed Me Pixels, which is another channel that I broadcast on twice a week, and a lot of those games don't come up in the database at all. So what I do then is I go to the games and demos segment, which it in itself is a remarkable place to be as well if you're playing stuff that doesn't have a lot of clout to it. So a lot of people can pick you up there as well. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
All right. Okay. So the next part of the question, recently you heard about, well, not recently, but within the past few months or so, you heard of the Amazon buyout of Twitch, and also the update of the terms of service due to this action. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, Amazon completed the acquisition of Twitch back in September of 2014, and they'd had fingers in the pie, as it were, for quite some time before that. And I think the completion of the acquisition was, I think a lot of people don't realize, because obviously they see Amazon as this big thing that comes in and sucks up these tiny little companies, and it's like, oh, what chance did they have? But don't forget, Amazon has one of the biggest content delivery networks outside of Google. And as a result, when they finally do really get their act together and really make Twitch part of the Amazon content delivery network, it will definitely result in a more, certainly a stronger place to stream, where you don't see so many dropouts, so many ingest servers getting congested and this sort of thing. But also, don't forget, Amazon has the entire, well, not the entire, but it has an enormous back catalog of audio. And a lot of people find that when you play copyrighted audio on your streams, it gets muted when you play the VOD, which is for legal reasons, of course. But when you're playing it live, they don't say, don't play copyrighted audio. I mean, I could go right now and play something by Led Zeppelin and put it on my stream, as I have done. And yes, the VOD will get muted, but the live broadcast will not be affected whatsoever. And I will not receive any punishment for having done that. And I have a feeling it's mainly because of the enormous presence that Amazon has in the background. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, although I could be wrong.
So you're thinking it could be a competitor to YouTube?
Certainly not. No, I don't think. I think YouTube and Twitch are always going to have their differences, and I think that I mean, I know that Twitch recently launched its ability to say you can upload videos and so on and so forth, but the audience is so ingrained in YouTube now, and no matter how many times people complain about how crap YouTube is for XYZ reasons, YouTube is so built into our psyches now that, and and myself included, if I want to watch a video and it's on the internet, I'll go to YouTube. If I want to watch something live, I will of course go over to Twitch. And that's the difference. I mean, I very, very rarely will watch something live on YouTube, or indeed Facebook, because now that they're now doing that. I will always get my live kicks from Twitch, and I'll get my pre-recorded stuff from YouTube. And I like to keep those guys separate.
Yeah. Okay, so then the third part of that question, what are your thoughts on the new streams being added, such as eating and creative, which we kind of went into already? That you think they're good, pretty much?
Do I think creative streams are good?
Yes.
I think it's an absolutely fantastic addition to Twitch. I think that especially as my significant other, ISA Shin, is a cosplayer and an artist, and she has a place on Twitch to go and do those things and show people her love of video gaming in the world of creating clothes and creating artwork. And that's fantastic that they can do that. And every Friday night, I go over to Lost Time Lord's place. He's another streamer that I'm quite fond of. He does a cooking stream every Friday. So I go over there with ISO Shin, and we do cooking every Friday. And that's just another thing that we can do under the creative banner. And I think that it's a really fantastic way to get gamers who typically are swamped into this whole, oh, you're a gamer thing, into more of an expressive place. So, I mean, your every gamer is going to have a whole swathe of, passions and abilities and so on. And it's nice to be able to get those to sort of to cross over as well. I mean, because there's a whole ton of really, really fantastic creative streamers out there. Another one of my favorite creative streamers is Twins Play Egg, and he's currently, I mean, as we speak right now, he was just streaming some artwork. So actually, he was doing some fan art of Call of Cthulhu, who I mentioned earlier. So it all ties together really nicely. It really binds the community together, I feel.
So we're using it to break the stereotype of a gamer being somebody who has a controller in their hand.
But yeah, I mean, don't forget that also there are many ways to experience video games, not just necessarily with a controller. But I mean, yeah, I mean, the whole concept of a video gamer being someone stapled to the floor watching a television screen with a controller in their hand is such an antiquated visual. I mean, think sort of 1980s, 1990s maybe. But today's gamers are very active individuals. I mean, yeah, of course, there's always going to be a corner of society where you've got gamers that are doing it to excess, but ultimately there are gamers in politics, there are gamers in every facet, every major career path you can possibly imagine. There's gamers everywhere. And there are people who will wear that on their sleeve. There are people that will try and hide that away because they still have these beliefs that as being seen as a gamer is a detrimental thing. Whereas I think that it's an incredibly expressive thing to do these days. It's certainly, I think, turned a corner now that gaming has become more accessible than ever before.
Yeah, because one of my favorite game series is Dance Dance Revolution, and
Mm-hmm.
the only controller with that is the dance pad.
Mm-hmm.
And I just that
That itself is another expressive form of however you want. I mean, it's a rhythm game and it gets you involved with other people. I mean, I used to work at Sega Park in the one of these Sega Parks in the United Kingdom, and there was a whole bunch of DDR machines going on. There was always a whole massive queue for those. Very interesting.
yeah, it's well to tie into one of my previous five good questions segments. I discussed exercise in video gaming with another streamer called Devil You Know, and we DDR was one of the things that was on the plate about how gamers should be more health conscious of themselves and not just sit on the couch and
But I mean, also I mean, by saying that, you're kind of still suggesting that is what a gamer is. I mean, yes, there's a lot of gamers who, oh, this is my rig. I sit in front of my rig 10, 12 hours a day, this, that, and the other. But also, I mean, yeah, I mean, don't forget, there's a whole generation of Pokemon Go players. There's a whole generation of people that are looking forward to getting into stuff like HTC Vive or, any variety of VR headset. And there's a difference between having a gimmick to getting people to exercise. It's like, oh, I'm playing a video game. Oh, I accidentally exercised as well. To people that are more conscious about getting outside as well, having a healthy life work enjoyment sort of balance.
all right. To not go too far off the path. The fourth part of the first question: what direction do you think Twitch is going with allowing the uploading of VODs?
I think that they've needed to expand upon their storage anyway, because I think what the biggest gripe people have is not that they can't upload their own content, but they can't keep their own content on there once they've streamed. So once you've streamed, if you're I'm trying to think, if you're a standard free, if you're a free user, then your videos will stay up for 30 days, I believe. And if you are with Twitch Prime, which is the Amazon name for the Twitch Turbo features, I think that is extended to 90 days or 6 months. It's either 3 or 6 months, which sounds like a long time, but really when you're streaming all day every day, you go back and you want to look at some of your other stuff, or you want to show some stuff off to one of your friends. It gets tricky, and I think that they're missing out on also a lot of potential ad revenue from hosting older content as well. So I think that they're trying to really broaden the amount of people who can watch content. They want eyeballs on screens. That's what Twitch wants, and doing that will enable that.
Well, one of the things that I'm planning on doing when I started streaming is I'm gonna go ahead and upload my VODs to YouTube, which means that I can't use like copyrighted music or anything like that. Otherwise, it'll be uh, copyright claimed and all that stuff.
Quite rightly.
So that's my plan for that. I mean, I will still like the use of Twitch pods, but since they're tangible or intangible at best, then I think having YouTube as another platform to host your content is a good idea.
Well, thankfully, they've had the YouTube export feature around for quite some time. I keep trying to remember to use it because a lot of the best way to use it is to take clips of maybe 15 minutes or so and then convert those and then send those to YouTube directly. But I tend to produce my content for YouTube separately. I have been lax. I've not actually put anything up on YouTube for 2 or 3 months now, but I am planning on going back and doing that. But I will be doing that directly via YouTube rather than hosting content from Twitter all the time. I don't want to be known as a YouTuber that mainly just hosts my Twitch content, but I know a lot of people who will want to just host their VODs. So yeah, I can see why that could be an extremely helpful thing.
Well, one of the new features that Twitch has integrated is the clips to make like a quick clip of what your streamer is doing, the streamer you watch is doing. So like if you make a joke or do something that the audience finds particularly funny or maybe intelligent or poignant, then they can take the clip of that and then they could either like post it into the Discord chat or to post it, send it to the streamer, for the streamer to put on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, if they originally hosted that just for Twitch partners, so maybe just under 200,000 odd people had access to that facility, and they recently rolled it out to everyone. So everyone should have the ability to clip now. And they also have the clip editor, which means that you don't have to try and guess when the clip you wanted occurred. You can go back and you can clip it down to exactly the parts that you want, which is a fantastic feature. And it happens immediately, and you can share it immediately on Twitter or on Facebook or on your own feed on Twitch. And it's a really useful feature.
All right, so that's the end of question number 1. Question number 2: why did you decide to become a Twitch streamer, and what do you like best about streaming?
I decided to become a Twitch streamer mainly because I had friends who already did it, and I had friends that I enjoyed watching do it, and they suggested that I give it a go because they liked my presentation style on YouTube, and they said that would fit quite well with the Twitch ethos, because in order to broadcast on Twitch, you need to be able to be a commanding live presence, and having a live presence is very different to having a presence which is geared towards post-production. And that's not necessarily to say that people who do YouTube are in any way inferior. It's just a different mindset. I mean, I happened to be okay doing the YouTube stuff, but it was quite time consuming, and I wanted to try something. I wanted to switch it up a little bit. And the stress levels of doing Twitch, when you're trying to keep the quality bar as high as, let's say, a YouTube video, it's really quite tricky. And not to mention, there's a lot of technical barriers if you want to do certain things on Twitch. I mean, notwithstanding things like Twitch alerts that, you know, they're now Streamlabs, and doing things like GIF animations or sound commands, or I mean, people who've been doing it for a while don't really think about it, but getting started can be incredibly daunting. So I just jumped in, and I will say I pretty much copied someone else's, with their permission, with their setup, and just changed everything around for my my stuff, and that worked out all right. But then I saw how it all worked, and after my first stream, I changed up everything. I spent about 3 or 4 days just working on my Twitch interface, and I've got to say I was fairly happy with it. And since then, I've upgraded it 2 or 3 times, because I started back in March of this year. That's 2016, and I've got to say it's been remarkably rewarding personally to see people coming to watch you live, as opposed to logging back in the next day and finding out 20 people have watched your video. And then you look at the stats and it's like, well, 20 people watched your video, but they mainly watched about 15 seconds of it or a minute, and then they got bored and left. And I was like, well, that's fine. But so why don't I try this instead? And then when you've got people interacting on your stream, when you've got people who are trying to well, as I say, interact with you, it can really give you a real boost of confidence. So that's primarily why I presently prefer Twitch over YouTube.
Yeah, because with YouTube, well, one of the issues that I have with YouTube is editing videos. It, like you said, it's time consuming. It makes it like a chore. With Twitch and you having the live audience there, you can react in real time, and your watchers can watch your reaction and thereby react to your reaction to maybe affect to. It's like a kind of a reaction loop, pretty much.
Mm. I mean, I've got no problem with editing videos. I'm a big fan of, spending time and, crafting a video. And you have to be in the mindset that, whether or not a single person watches it, you have to be happy with the result for yourself. Otherwise, YouTube is a no-go. There's no point. Same with Twitch, really. If you are doing it just for the views, or if you're doing it just to try and become famous, or if you're doing it just to try and reap some sort of financial reward, then you're going to struggle, or rather, you're always going to be disappointed. And I have a feeling that's going to come across as part of your stream if you end up doing it for those reasons. Whereas if you do it because you love video games and you love talking to people and fostering a community, then you're going to have no problem whatsoever. You may end up getting partnered, you may not. It's one of those things.
All right, and then the second part of the question, what do you like best about streaming? I think we got into that a little bit. The audience is the audience real time reactions. Okay, so then we have an addendum to that question. Being in favor of something doesn't mean it's perfect. What are some of the issues you've run into being a streamer? Some of the negative issues?
Primarily with something like this is that because Twitch and indeed live broadcasting on this scale is still a new frontier, there's a lot of technological barriers which sometimes pop up. And unfortunately, it does also, I mean, even though Amazon has the single biggest content delivery network outside of Google, it's not always perfect. For example, even today, I've had some Twitch issues where the encoder on the server end was not behaving the way it should do, which resulted in dropped frames, which meant a lot of people are having drop frame issues. And my stream restarted several times today, which when you're trying to maintain a televisual style quality, it can really jar, and it gets really difficult when you have to stop, start, and stutter all of the time. And especially when you're not in control of those problems, or if there's a computer problem, or if there's a problem with your streaming software, or if there's an update you've done and it's ruined everything and you can't quite, you've got to be able and willing to troubleshoot at your own end as well if these problems, which they do occur. And when those do happen, it's not a case of if, it's when they do, what do you do? Do you sort of pick up the pieces and carry on, or do you stop and you call the stream? I know a lot of people who will be like, oh, no, this is bad. No, sorry, bye. And then there's a lot of people who, no matter what, will keep sticking it through. I mean, there's a happy medium in there somewhere, because I think once you get to the point where you're starting for the 7th or 8th or 9th time, you're just going to lose your audience and they're not going to be interested. Whereas if you just sort of bite the bullet and say, okay, things didn't work out today, but join me tomorrow and I'll be doing this instead. And let's hope these things have, or I'm doing this to fix this. All right. As long as you are always transparent with your audience, as long as you're always communicating with your audience, because ultimately it's your community. If you're not part of it, then why on earth are you streaming? So as long as you're always communicating with your audience, you can minimize the damage when these things do go wrong.
Sometimes even members of your audience can help you with audio issues, with those kind of issues.
Oh, yes. But I find that the problem with that occurs with when the audience suddenly turns into when everyone's a doctor. It kind of, everyone's got their own opinion. And I'm thinking, right, okay, well, I know this about this. If I'm genuinely stumped, I'll be like, okay, guys, let's jump into Discord or something. Let's have a chat about it, rather than let's do it live. Let's figure it out live. That's why I don't typically like to have backseat info when I'm playing video games and things like that, because obviously everyone's got their own experience. And if I need to borrow from you guys' experience, then I will say as much in the chat. Yeah, but I mean, I'm ultimately here to have a good time, and I know that ultimately you guys are as well. So when it comes to technical issues, if I've got a sound problem, I'll be like, guys, does that sound all right to you? And then I'll get a few feedbacks. It's like, oh, okay, well, on average, people think it could be a bit louder. Okay, turn that up a little bit. Then we're good. Whereas if it's like, oh, does anyone know how to reinstall this driver for my off-brand mixer or something like that, it can get a bit awkward.
Yeah, delete System 32.
Yeah, and then you do get the trolls. The trolls do arrive. They always do, and you have to be prepared. And my method of dealing with trolls, my method of dealing with people who wish to disrupt, is once they've said their piece, immediate ban, and then do not speak a word of it. And then it's like, these people are less than air to me now. Back to the game. And if people want to continue the conversation, I just try and nudge it into a direction that's not focused around what just happened, because it doesn't need to have any focus on it, because that's ultimately all they want.
Yeah. All right. So, question number 3: what is your gaming experience? The reason I threw the whole question is, what is your gaming / creation experience? The whole adding creation is because ISA Shin, your wife, she is a Twitch streamer and she's part of the creative thing, but does that uh, does that kind of blend into your channel a little bit?
Does her content blend into my channel?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. In the sense that I frequently host her, I frequently talk about her during my streams, I frequently show her content on my streams, and I'm always a big fan of the stuff that she does, even outside of being her boyfriend and so on. But in terms of my what is my experience with video gaming?
Yes. What is I don't want to use this term, but it pretty much speaks for yourself, but speaks for itself. But your gamer cred.
My gamer cred. I can give you the history of my video gaming.
I mean,
what I've done.
Like, did you start out on the NES, Super NES?
Yeah. So very, very first time I was ever introduced to a video game was when a friend of my mother's came over to the United Kingdom from America and brought with him what was then a brand new Nintendo Game Boy. The original gray brick, which was brand spanking new. And I was absolutely fascinated with this as a small child, very small child. In fact, I forgot. This is the very beginnings of my time on Earth, because I was born in the mid '80s, so this was big stuff. And my mother cottoned onto that. My mother is actually an avid Twitch watcher. She watches a lot of streams, and she goes by the name of Monocle. So if you ever see her, do give her a shout. But she was the person who bought me my first games console, which was an Atari 2600, which was back then still. It was still fairly old. It'd been getting on a bit, but it was certainly not a bad piece of kit to have. And we had a whole buttload of games on there. I remember playing the original Mario Brothers, which, yes, did get a release on Atari 2600. I got to play things like Centipede and Defender and all these other really amazing titles back then. Before we ended up, she bought a Sinclair Spectrum, which I ended up playing a lot, which is like playing things like Manic Miner, which is Jet Set Willy sort of variant with a lot of Monty Python humor in it. Along with a whole bunch of homebrew games and things like that, which we got from a car boot sale. And then from there, my first big console, because we skipped the 8-bit generation because I was playing all these other games. And my father had a BBC microcomputer, and we had some games on there as well. But the first console game of the 16-bit generation I had was the Sega Mega Drive, which was the Genesis in America. But in Japan and in Europe, it was the Mega Drive. And my entire youth, I seem to recall, right up until we got the PlayStation in 1996, was spent playing things like Sonic the Hedgehog and Ristar and Streets of Rage and all those kinds of titles, which I absolutely adored. And the old Formula One games, and Micro Machines was my big thing back then. That was my absolute favorite game to play. And we ended up getting the Turbo Tournament 96 edition, which I ended up being one of the best players in the United Kingdom for the one tournament they did end up having. And launch day of PlayStation, we ended up getting a PlayStation from there, and launch day of PlayStation 2, ended up getting a PS2. Launch day of PS3, got my launch PS3, which I still have today, and none of them have broken down miraculously. But PS4 is the actual current gen systems. It's been a long time. I've only just recently, like I'm talking less than a month ago, bought a PS4, and well, I say myself, we got one together, and more recently, I got a PS Vita to replace my PSP, my aging PSP, which I still play every now and then. And I've obviously got a Nintendo 3DS, along with various Game Boy consoles along the way as well. So I've been pretty good. And obviously, throughout all of that, I've been an avid PC gamer as well, and that kind of shows with the Steam collection that I've got currently going on. Which, as of right this precise moment, I'm clicking on it right now. I have 4,464 games in my Steam library. So
Whoa.
that's where I'm at the moment.
All right. So you've got quite a history. Quite a history.
Mm. And my mum's an avid gamer as well, so it's entirely her that I attribute to being a gamer today.
Well, I'm glad. Yeah, my history is less gaming filled, more book filled, more book filled. I am very well read. Okay.
Well, I'm a reader as well. I mean, it doesn't mean I can't do both. I'm a very avid reader. If I don't consume a book a month, I'm doing badly.
Okay, the addendum to 3. Okay, so we covered the systems, but what kind of games? I mean, a lot of the games that you stream are like role-playing games, like the Final Fantasy and such. But what other type of games have you been into?
Have I been into, as in what genres do I like, or which ones do I like to stream?
A, a little of both.
Okay, well, I mean, to stream, when I stream, I tend to stream adventure games and RPGs. That's really where I'm at. And the term adventure game can be very, very loosely applied. So, I mean, it could be BioShock, it could be some top-down RPG game, it could be anything that's got a storyline to it is, in my mind, an adventure game. Whereas games that I play generally that I really like, I'm actually a really, really big fan of racing games, specifically simulation racing games. So really was into Gran Turismo when it was around, really big into Project Cars at the moment.
Forza, have you played the Forza series?
I chose the Gran Turismo series over the Forza series because I was mainly a PlayStation gamer.
Okay. All right, go on. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. I understand the Forza series is very well received. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I happened to be a PlayStation gamer rather than an Xbox gamer, and that's not because of any feelings one way or another. It's just that I happen to have PlayStations before Xboxes. We have an Xbox 360 now, but I still haven't got a racing game for it. But I think if I was going to say any other kinds of games, I'm actually really, really into stuff like SimCity, like the older SimCities, and specifically things like now Planet Coaster is taking up a lot of my time as well. And interestingly, my favorite game of the moment is a game called My Summer Car, which came out a couple of months ago. And it's a game where you build a car from scratch. And the beauty of it is you don't have to have a clue about how to do it. I mean, I know a modicum of how to put a car together, but seeing friends of mine that play it and love it and enjoy it, despite having zero interest in cars whatsoever, is remarkable. It's like, imagine a car simulator meets goat simulator. It's really quite peculiar and definitely worth checking out if you ever get a chance.
All right, so you talk about adventure games, and do you play any of the racing games on stream?
I don't, mainly because a game like a racing game will command a degree of competitiveness. And when it comes to playing video games online, especially when it comes to playing games on stream, I like to negate the competitiveness so I can have more of a laid-back approach to the storyline and really deliver a killer story to the audience rather than be one of those streamers who is entirely devoted to competitive action. Because if you have a cold streak, unless you're really, really in with your supporters, then you tend to lose audience. and I like to leave that by the wayside in favor of doing something more mechanically, like game mechanically complex, rather than something like a CS:GO or something like that.
Yeah, CS:GO, COD shooters. E-
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say I don't like shooters. I love FPS games, but I like solo FPS games.
Yeah, or even to name drop Binding of Isaac with their
Hmm.
daily runs and competitive seeds where, oh no, you should have done this instead of this, and then you would have got a better item, stuff like that.
Backseat gamers are absolutely unavoidable, but at the same time, they are really, really, really quite cumbersome and irritating sometimes. Especially, for example, I mean, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I played Undertale on stream. And for those of you who know Undertale, will know that there are two major ways to complete that game, or three technically. But if you do not adhere to a very, very specific set of criteria to complete the game in each of those three directions, then you get a mediocre, bog standard ending. And a lot of people will always, always pick up on things that you're doing to make sure that you don't get it wrong. And it's like, I am playing this game for myself right now, as well as you guys. Please let me make my own mistakes. And if I need your help, I will say something. But I did have Undertale comprehensively ruined for me as a video game because I first chose to play it on stream rather than for myself. Which, if you're thinking about streaming Undertale, play it for yourself first, enjoy it, and then stream it.
I I I I I got it, and then I played like maybe I played where you end the first part,
Hmm.
and I did the bad action instead of the good action, and I thusly did not enjoy the rest of the 10 minutes I played, and it's on my YouTube channel,
Hmm.
and I thusly don't wish to go on playing it anymore.
Hmm.
Maybe I'll play what one of the things that I would like to do with it is if the creator Toby Fox, I would like to have him uh, uh like kind of backseat game run through a game and give me like his thoughts and stuff, his experience of each part of the game, like maybe the coding that he did, or maybe the idea process behind the creation of certain characters, like the fish lady,
Hmm.
the the dogs,
Hmm.
maybe, yeah. But it's an okay game for an RPG, and one of the things I like about it, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but the purpose that he wanted to make with the game is have a game where you don't kill enemies.
Well, it was a game about having the choice
Yes,
rather.
having the choice. But I like the fact that, well, you can choose whether to do it or not, and not many games can speak to that.
Hmm.
Okay, let's see. All right, so let's move on. Question number 4: any future projects? Now we discussed this a little bit in the email, and I what you can choose to you you probably want to share just a little bit of it, right?
Well, in terms of things that I'm working on in the future, I mean, presently working on an incredibly large giveaway for when I hit a certain milestone in my viewers, and also applications to applications for a Twitch partnership. I've spoken to some people at Twitch, and while I don't currently have the numbers by a long shot to receive a Twitch partnership, they've given me some very positive feedback on how I can acquire that. So I'm looking forward to being a partnered streamer very, very soon. Who knows? Also on the YouTube front, I have some things in the works at the moment, some longer bits and pieces going on, as well as some artwork going on, and I'm actually writing a book at the moment for Lost Time Lord stream, which I can't really go into too much, but it's a cookbook, but it's got some anecdotal stuff in there, which is rather nifty. And I'm currently taking a lot of photographs for that at the moment, and yeah, it's not stuff that I'm trying to do to become mega famous or anything. It's stuff I do because I'm enjoying it, and the rest of the time I'm just focusing on streaming 6 days a week, every week. Obviously, this week being an exception because it's Thanksgiving. This week is my first American Thanksgiving with friends, which is going to be rather interesting. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting next 6 months, I'd say.
Okay. One of the things that you mentioned in the email was rebranding slash relaunch. Is there any details you can go into about that?
There's a big relaunch coming for the stream and the YouTube site, but I'm hoping to tie those more together. And at the moment, I'm still working on that, but it is definitely something that's coming, and that's going to coincide also with the big giveaway that I'm doing.
Okay.
So, I mean, when I say big giveaway, I'm talking about it's going to be something like along the lines of a decent graphics card, like a GTX 1080 kind of budget we're talking. So it's going to be interesting.
Okay, so you're not changing your name. You're still going to be the Flaming Monocle.
Always going to be Flaming Monocle. Always going to be the Flaming Monocle.
Okay, because that's what got me confused. If you're going to rebrand yourself, relaunch yourself, then you would go with a completely different identity, and I don't think that fits with the narrative that you're trying to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, alright. So you're still okay. You're still gonna be Flaming Monocle.
Yes.
Alright. So, question 5. And this is also meant a little for myself because of the fact that I'm gonna start streaming. Do you have any advice for streamers and our creators?
Yes, which is to just do it. Honestly, no expectations. If you want to give it a try, just do it anyway, and then do the refining. You may not stream to like more than one person. You may not stream to anyone. You may find that for the first 2-3 weeks, not a single person will come to your stream. That doesn't matter. Do it, and do it for yourself. Get your head on when it comes to figuring out how streaming works or how YouTubing works, and just keep doing it, and do it so long as you enjoy the process. If you enjoy the process, then you've already won. You've already pretty much gained everything you're going to get out of it anyway. Enjoy some games, and they say fake it till you make it, and nothing could be more true in the sense that pretend that you're streaming to thousands of people. That doesn't necessarily mean it'll come true. It'll just give you that confidence and that boost to get in and be more of a personality rather than, oh, I'm that guy who has that gimmick on his show, which is, I've got that bot that does that thing, or I've got some flashy graphics or something like that. It's people, when they come to watch you, will do it for the production quality, sure, but they'll mainly be there because of you. And if you can't be confident and assertive and really be seen to enjoy what you're doing, then it's going to be a very, very tricky process. But I'd say more importantly than everything else, just get out and do it.
Yeah, for my viewers slash listeners, I found Flaming Monocle a few months back. I believe you were streaming Final Fantasy VIII, and because
so yeah, that would have been fairly early on then, yeah.
Yeah, and because Final Fantasy VIII Squall, I just had to stop in, and his personality was enough to stick me. I followed his channel, and I've pretty much liked most of the content he's put out so far. You've got a fascinating personality.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's comments like that really make
the British thing is not a detriment either.
Well, no, because I'm from England, and I should certainly hope that that's the case. So I happen to have this accent because I grew up in the UK. So I'm kind of glad that worked out for me.
If I may ask, why did you decide to move to the United States?
Because ISation, I'm trying to think my girlfriend slash other half slash better half slash
Significant other.
Yeah, significant other. And she's the reason why I do a lot of things. And I came over here because she lives in Los Angeles, or rather, she lived in Los Angeles, and I moved over here to come and live with her.
She lives in the United States. Let's keep it at that.
Well, no, I mean LA. I make no bones about the fact that we're on West Coast time. Just outside of LA.
Yeah, PST, which always
Yes.
it breaks my heart because you guys stream at different hours than I'm
Yeah, we're at
used
the
to.
end of the world. So
All right, so I believe is it okay if my viewers slash watchers leave questions for you in the comments?
sure, no reason why they can't do that. I mean, better still, if they do that, then the best thing is for you to let me know what they are, or they can come join in the Discord, or they can come and join in the channel. So
Yeah,
everyone's welcome.
except the bad people.
If you've got bad people in your audience, I don't think you've got bad people in your audience.
I don't have any people in my audience, or rather,
Oh well.
they're very few,
Uh-huh.
and they will. But we'll see how this goes.
Cool. Okie dokie then.
All
Well, it's
right.
been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
So, anybody you want to shout out before? Plug yourself, plug other people.
Well, I mean, I could plug. I've plugged a few people during this so far.
Yeah, you plugged Continue. You plugged. Did you plug Professor Dastardly?
Professor Bastardly
Oh,
is
Bastard.
he's my younger brother. Yeah, he's currently on hiatus, but he lives in the UK. He's living it up. But he and I will be getting back together to do some more YouTube stuff pretty soon. And obviously my very good friend T Dude, who's coming over tomorrow from the UK. So I'm looking forward to finally spending some time with some of my old friends from that area. But in terms of shout outs to people, I mean, you've already heard them. I mean, I've got Twins Play Egg, there's Call of Cthulhu, Continue. There's so many really good people out there, and they know who they are. And I'd like to go through every single one of them, but there are literally tens of them.
There,
So I
there's.
will.
Yep.
Best thing to do actually is go through my follow list on Twitch, and every single one of them are very individual, very good individual streamers and teams alike. Very talented, intelligent streamers, and I thoroughly suggest that you go check them all out at your leisure.
And what is your Twitch?
My Twitch, as I mentioned at the beginning, is twitch.tv/Flaming Monocle, all one word.
And your YouTube channel?
Is youtube.com/Flaming Monocle.
And any other socials you want to share?
Twitter @Flaming Monocle, Facebook.com/Flaming Monocle. You're kind of detecting a theme, really.
That's the brand you decided for yourself.
Indeed. So just type in Flaming Monocle into your favorite social media entity, and I dare say I'll be there at some point.
All right. Well, thank you for participating in this.
There's no problem. I'm glad. Thanks for having me.
And this should be, yeah. Well, I shouldn't talk about this during that actual interview, but it will be being uploaded sometime in the future. Not
I hope
too
so.
not too long away. The sooner better.
No
So,
worries. But thanks for having me. It's been a very good time.
all right, thank you for this interview, Mr. Monocle, and thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, and you guys have a good day. And if you're watching this during Thanksgiving, happy holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Take care.